Lying deep in America's heartland, the Kansas area is known for its Midwestern presence and is ready to be known for some racing tonight as the field coops up to get into the heart of Victory Lane. KBueno Racing Network's coverage brings you the Kansas 120 as the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series take their third step in the season calendar right here from the virtual Kansas Speedway. Happy to have you along for the ride on our journey to the championship. We're up atop the broadcast booth here at Kansas Speedway. My name is Kenneth Bueno. 2 races already recovered through the season, 2 different winners, but this is our second trip to a 1.5 mile track after Christian Visconti broke the ice on the intermediates, taking the win in the final laps of the Atlanta race, the GGR Henry County 120. Of course, we had Benjamin A. White take away the win at Daytona earlier this season, but after a 1-week break for Christmas time, celebrating the new year of 2022 in just a couple of days' time, we are ready to kick things off tonight from the second intermediate track, the Kansas Speedway, which has proven to be a very interesting track in its own right. We've had already the 2 different winners in White and Visconti take to victory lane, but we're seeing a different field here tonight. So potentially there could be a change for a possible 3rd race winner and maybe a bit of shakeups within the points. It is still rather early in the season, but there could be still a lot of time remaining to make yourself a championship contender. Right now, qualifying is underway, so drivers are putting their best 2 laps together to get on the starting grid in just a couple of moments' time. But before we do that, why don't we take a look as to where we are overhead in the virtual world as we take a look at our KBueno track map with images provided to us by Google Earth. As I mentioned, this is the second time we visit an intermediate track here in this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, and Kansas Speedway is a rather young track, opened all the way back in 2001, but still has played host to very exciting races on the NASCAR calendar. It's a 1.5 mile, 2.4 kilometer track located just outside of Kansas City in the state of Kansas, with banking at 17 to 20 degrees progressively all the way from the inside line to the outside wall. 9 to 11 degrees on the front stretch, also progressive, and only 5 degrees on the back straightaway. Again, this track is very young. This track hasn't really shown its age, much like its compatriot in the Chicagoland Speedway, which also opened around a similar time. But this Kansas Speedway, it is definitely daunting in its own right. With these NASCAR Xfinity Series cars, there's not that much downforce. There's a good amount of power underneath the hood of all of these stock machines, so you're still going to have a wild ride. And as the sun begins to set, temperatures will begin to start to flare around. And especially given the fact that we'll most likely have a loss of grip from the Goodyear Eagles, it is still going to be a challenge to make sure that these drivers end up at the end of tonight's race. And obviously Atlanta was highlighted last week by a lap 1 crash getting to the green flag where Mitch Hobbs and Dimitri Roundros ended up in the incident. And we had a long green flag running ever since. We had some cautions in the middle of it, but most of it was very strategic in the race, where Christian Visconti ended up beating out everybody else on the long run, was able to walk away for his first win, and right now he sits pretty in the qualifying standings as he's going to try and take his 2nd race win in a row, try to get some momentum. And with this schedule, of course, we do have a bunch of 1.5 mile tracks on the schedule, but this will not be a 3rd trip to 1.5 mile track. When we come back next Thursday night, we will be at the Phoenix Raceway for round number 4 of the season, but we will return to 1.5 mile racing with Las Vegas on January 13th, and then we just continue all the way before we end the regular season at the Volusia Speedway, and then we'll kick off the playoffs from race 11 all the way to race 17, and we will crown a champion at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So right now, drivers continue on through qualifying, going to the final seconds of what's going to be the starting grid here in tonight's Kansas 120 from the virtual Kansas Speedway. And of course, this is going to be the final race of the WORC Dynamo Design Series for 2021, because ever since the beginning of the season at Daytona, it was going to be these 3 races the week in between the Christmas, and we're going to be ready to set for 2022. But before we do that, we're ready to get to the green flag in just a couple of moments. We'll kick it trackside as qualifying ticks all the way down to 0, and we will bring you your starting grid for tonight's Kansas 120 and see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here on the grid once we get to the green flag. Bennett Parsons, the 723 machine, sets the fastest time of everybody in the qualifying session with a 30.897. He'll have the 26 of Garrett A. White and the 26 to his outside in that first row to green. Christian Visconti, as I mentioned, he was sitting pretty in qualifying. He's sitting pretty in 3rd right now, looking for his 2nd straight win in this WORC Series. Ethan Harrison in the 77 will follow through to his outside, starting in P4. Ethan Workman in the 25 will start on the inside of the top 5, and RJ Starchevich will be in the 979 car. He'll start on his outside, back in P number 6. Dimitri Mondros, after nabbing the pole at Atlanta, is going to look for a better redemption effort tonight from the Kansas Speedway. He will start tonight from P7, and Canadian Jay Mulder will round out the top 8 on the outside of row number 4. Row 5 consists of Connor Havrilla in the 20 machine and the 136 of Chris Brown to capitalize your top 10. Logan Pugh in 01 for Nova Sim Racing will line up on P11 with Harrison Mitchell to his outside in P12. Wayne Castile in the 8 will roll off from P13. Timmy Spatz will have the 14th starting position in the outside of row number 7. Shane Fuller in the 57 will start in the exit of the top 15. Blake Kennedy will be to his outside in the 54 machine. Hunter Collier, a previous Super Speedway champion, will start in P17 with Ryan Martin back in P18 in the 9 car. Mason Sweet in the 56 will start 19th. Quentin Haley will be the final driver to round out your top 20 in row number 10. Lucas Lyons and Jarek Hernandez are the 2 drivers to go back to P22. Henry Clappert and Kiloa Hankins making the start back to P24. Kiloa Hankins, this is his first start, so a warm welcome to the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. There's league owner Brayson Collins rolling deep in the field in 25th. Aaron Giffen to his outside will be in 26th. Frederick Seagraves in the 95 is the final driver to take time, but that is far from it when it comes down to this field, because driver on his outside will be the 02 of Josh Patterson. Gino Mero in the 71 machine will be 29. Joe Berge in the 83 will line up in P30, and it's Mitch Hobbs, DJ Powell, Nick Penna, and Tyson Gifford, the final drivers of this entirety 34 cars on the grid for this Kansas 120. So as everybody continues to roll through, we're going to roll behind the iRacing official pace car for just a little bit more. And by the time they'll exit 3 and 4, we'll be on to the green flag. Let's take a look at the weather before we get started here tonight from Kansas. It's a very cool 69 nice degrees here from virtual Kansas Speedway. Winds a bit to the south at around 6 to 5 miles per hour. No humidity, no fog. It is a partly cloudy afternoon, sunset evening here in the sim, and we are most likely going to be rolling into the nighttime and driving deep into the sunset here in America's heartland. So Bennett Parsons, his first pole this season. Garrett White, we've seen him start well, but we have yet to see him take control of races. Atlanta showed a little bit, but we're ready to see the Clemson machine and the 723 THLF esports machine head for the green flag. 723 of Parsons, 26 of Garrett White, the 2 Toyota Supras lead us to green, and we're underway for round 3 of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series from Kansas. Saw Ethan Harrison in the 77 get into the outside wall. They're out of turn 2, but nonetheless, we will stay green. Bennett Parsons already up to that 3rd lane on the very high side. Garrett White following, so you can see just how much the field has fanned out over the first couple of laps. Everybody trying to get some sort of a rhythm. They were 3 wide a bit back there through the mid-pack, but so far, Parsons, White, Visconti clear for your top 3 out of turn 4 to complete lap 2. Parsons back to turn 1. He'll have the advantage. Pretty much everybody has remained single file, and it appears that whatever happened with the 77 of Ethan Harrison has pushed it back to P24. He's kind of right in the middle of it all. You see him right there in that 77 Super trying to get out of the way. I saw the 5 of Brayson Collins. They're 3 wide. As he will back out, he will try to make sure he can get out of harm's way, but it has been a tough opening laps for the driver of that 77. You saw Collins and Mitch Hobbs go 3 wide for a moment. I believe that was with Ryan Martin. Indeed it was in that 9 machine, so he had a bit of a sort of a moment trying to get around all that. As he dives into turn 1, he'll follow through the positions, and everybody's going to try to at least find some sort of either clean air or clean track position. He's on board with the Sunoco machine of Shane Fuller. He rounded out the top 3 at Atlanta last week in the GGR Henry County 120. Been a great intermediate stint for him so far. Looking to rebound on that and sort of coup back on it tonight, as he currently rides just inside of the top 10. That's P9, where he sits just behind the 136 of Chris Brown. But for the moment, it looks like the top 3 have sort of run away from the field. You can see the breakaway as they come out of turn 2. They're almost 3 wide there around where Jay Mulder sits, the 51 car. And Christian Visconti, who won last week at the Atlanta, or 2 weeks ago rather, at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, is now going to dive underneath for second. That was Parsons, who got into the outside wall for just a moment, got a little bit too eager in the middle of the corner, and no significant damage to the Toyota Supra. However, he's going to continue on, and he's going to dive back to turn 1, hopefully try and rebound and maybe play some defense against the Mustangs that are going head-to-head for what is P4 right now. Dimitri Malandros with a brand new Red Bull paint scheme tonight. He's now under fire from the Nova Sim Racing driver of Logan Pugh, and Jay Mulder, the Canadian, just behind them, trying to be the third party in it as Malandros strikes the outside wall. That'll give the position to Logan Pugh. And there's Parsons falling back. Looks like his 3 and 4 did not look as good as the rest, and so Logan Pugh already making the charge up through the field. He's now up to the last step in the podium. At turn 2, he will officially clear, and the Mustang will look ahead to the 2 drivers up front, the Supra and the Camaro. Malandros trying to get back to the front where he was before he struck the outside wall. He's going to tuck in just in between the Parsons and Mulder sandwich. And so the 136 of Chris Brown also going to look to the inside here, but he would not have the ability to make the pass. And I talked with Bennett Parsons a couple of weeks ago after the Daytona race, and after what was a very chaotic and a very wild Oregon Diecast 200 presented by WORC. And he's a half Japanese, half American driver living in the country of Japan on the other side of the world. So I can imagine what time it is for the 723 of Parsons, who did well in qualifying tonight as the 01. Strikes the outside wall. They're going to be 3 wide for a moment, but somehow going to be able to keep it clear. And Malandros is going to be able to clear as a driver goes around through the middle. I believe it may have been the 20. It looks like maybe Connor Havrilla, who may have had a chance sideways, but it looks like we will stay green. And no caution will come out, so while everybody had a bit of a moment there, it seems as though everybody's going to stay clean and everybody's going to be okay. Right on board here with Timmy Spatz in the 44. I believe he most likely had a good vantage point of what happened just in front of him. But everybody's okay, a sideways moment, and maybe some damage accrued on some race cars, but for the moment, we will stay green in this Kansas 120. A very scary sight there out of the corner, and Garrett White has pulled up the gap to 0.7 of a second. The Clemson machine showing out, pulling all the stops as he completes his around to complete lap number 10. So Garrett White leading this race. Christian Visconti so far. A bit of connection issues for the 80 Visco car machine. However, he's going to stay in second. Looks like Dimitri Malandros has finally found some calm space in third, although he's got some heavy right side damage there on the right front and almost got to tagging the safer barrier there coming out of turn 2. And one thing with this Kansas Speedway in the sim is that the high line is the most dominant. That's usually something you don't see at many intermediate tracks when you race the stock cars around. It's usually the inside lane that is the dominant one as Parsons gets turned. That was Brown that got into him at the exit of turn 4. Looks like Jay Mulder was involved, but the 23 is going to drift across the track, and a big slam right there. Caution is out for the first time tonight. And a tough break there for the 723 of Parsons as he got turned. It looked like he got way tight out of turn 4. And then as Chris Brown tried to go to the inside, Jay Mulder tried to go to the inside. It was really tough for them to even get back into it as they collected each other coming out of the 4th corner. We'll take a look at it once more, and indeed it did start with Parsons hitting the outside wall. He had already done this a little bit earlier tonight from the top 3. We saw Dimitri Malandros do it. The 723 just got a little bit too hot in the middle of the corner, slows up, tries to get it back going, but it's this right here that creates the calamity. It's the 136 of Chris Brown that looks to the inside. And of course, Jay Mulder trying to make sure he can hold the inside there when there were 3 wide. That was Logan Pugh, actually. But it looked like Mulder came up a little bit hot, got slightly into the 136 of Brown. Caused them to go sailing for the inside grass. Looks like Brown had it collected. Parsons, though, is the main one right there. He gets a big slam from a Ford Mustang. We're going to try to identify who that was. You take a look on board as the 723 really has nowhere to go, just has to brace for impact, and he was trying to save the car, almost got it straight, but right there, that little hook to the right sends the car completely around, and then it's a slam right about there from one of the drivers near the rear of the field. And so Bennett Parsons looks to be on pit road, getting some service. Doesn't seem to be too much damage on his Supra, so he may have escaped, most likely. There's Christian Visconti, one of the top race leaders. He's going to come down for service, while everybody, it appears, is going to stay out on the opening 14 laps. And so we have our first caution of tonight's Kansas 120. So Garrett White, his lead was almost a full second by the time we got the caution flag. That's going to be trimmed down all the way to 0. It'll be Dimitri Mandros who started on the inside of row number 1. And he just hit the wall right there in the back straightaway. Not sure what happened there to the driver of the 93. I believe was just a little bit distracted there behind the wheel. Got into the outside wall. And so there's going to be more damage on the Ford Mustang. He may have to look to repair that on pit road. Just to mention for the competitors that are coming down for service, of course, you can get tires, you can get fuel, but you do not have the ability to get a fresh race car if you get into a crash. There are no fast repairs in this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, so if you do happen to be involved in something, if you do happen to have some crinkles on the front end, the rear end, the right side, the left side, you have to spend the time to repair it on pit road. Doesn't matter if it's 30 seconds, 12 seconds, 5 seconds, or even a full minute and a half, you will still need to come down for damage repair. There's the 72 of Kiloa Hankins. He's going to come down, and it looks like Dimitri Mandros after striking the wall the second time. Here we go straight to his box. There's Jay Mulder back there in the limeade machine, the light green and white Chevrolet Camaro. That's the 20 of Connor Havrillo. Looks like he picked up some front end damage. Might have been from the opening incident that could have brought us under yellow the first time, but they went sideways off of turn 4, and so Havrillo will take some of that opportunity now under yellow to try and get that car fixed and maybe just not have to worry about it for the rest of the race. So while we're under caution for the first time tonight, we will remind you that coverage of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series is brought to you by Dynamo Designs, your one-stop shop for all of your iRacing design needs. Starting at just $5 per scheme, you can message Josh Patterson on Discord at Josh Patterson, #9212, or on Facebook at JP Designs to get him working on your iRacing design today. Of course, Dynamo Designs, the main sponsor of this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, and I brought some of the fire paints, if you will, to the racetrack tonight. Of course, I believe Logan Pugh has a Dynamo Designs car. He's got a Nova Sim Racing Ford Mustang that's sort of in the style of what was Mark Martin's car in 2007. Joe Nemechek also raced that scheme, the same number 01 in a different font, but it is the same sort of paint scheme that they ran back in the day in NASCAR competition. So you can, if you want to get a brand new look, if you want to get some drip on your paint schemes on the sim, whether it be through stock cars, whether it be through GT3s, or any car on the iRacing service, you can hit up Dynamo Designs to get your design today. So ready to get back to green flag racing on what's going to be lap 17 of 80 here in this Kansas 120. Garrett A. White, who pulled out to about a second lead before the first yellow came out, he will be on the outside of row number 1. He's going to look to clear everybody back to the first corner. Logan Pugh, and then Nova Sim Racing Ford Mustang, he will be on the inside of that first row. Shane Fuller and Ethan Workman, the two Camaros, will line up row number 2. Hunter Collier has moved up through the field nicely. He's now into the top 5. For the first time tonight, Henry Clappert will be back in P6. Christian Visconti, with that pit stop, has moved him back to, I believe, 7th or 8th on the racetrack. That is Wayne Castile underneath him for 7th, back in row number 4. Final drivers in the top 10 include Lucas Lyons and the 44 of Timmy Spatz. So the pace truck makes its way down a pit road. Garrett A. White back on the gas. He's going to clear the 01 of Pugh. We're back under green in the Kansas 120. far for Garrett White. He will easily use that outside lane to hold single file through most of the field out of turn 2. And it looks like Hunter Collier appeared to go for the inside move. This time he will go, but now we have a yellow flag on the racetrack. So everybody in the midfield may have had something go wrong. Everybody's scattering at the moment on the racetrack, trying to find out exactly what happened. And it may have been the 9 of Ryan Martin that got caught up in this incident. He started 18th tonight. And it looks like he definitely has fallen. Look at the heavy rear end damage to his Chevrolet Camaro. Not sure exactly confirmed if he was part of this incident, but we'll just have to find out. And it appears that it happened most likely into 3 and 4, or maybe even in 1 and 2 per se. We're going to try to find exactly where this began. So here's a look at Dimitri Maldros. He's near the rear of the field, so he may give us an explanation as to what happened. It appears as though it looks like that was maybe Ryan Martin there 3 wide coming out of turn 2. Yeah, and they were wrecking Ryan for, actually that's the 56. That's Mason Sweet in his car. It appears he got into trouble right there. That's contact between him and what looked like Giffen. And so they got together. You see it right here. They were 3 wide up ahead, so it looked like that was going to be the incident as Mitch Hobbs tried to split the middle in his Nebula Esports car. That's just in front of Joe Berge, just in front of the 68. But it's right here where the 4 just slightly comes into the 56. And bam, on the outside wall he goes. And of course, sliding across the racetrack. That is a yellow flag. It appears nicely, though, everybody was able to suffice to get around the spinning 56. And so it looked like Ryan Martin was one of those drivers to barely get by through the grass. So the number 56 of Sweet, unfortunately, after what was a solid night at Daytona to start the season, he's got heavy front end damage, and most likely his race could be officially over. But we had many drivers come down pit road, and it appears that Garrett White, your race leader, is still going to stay out. So despite all of the calls, despite some of the opening chaos here in the first, what's going to be 20 laps in this Kansas 120, your leader Garrett A. White has still yet to make the decision to come down the pit lane. So for the moment, White will hold control of the race lead. Ethan Workman does a nice job to put himself in second, and Ethan Workman in that Ohio State Chevrolet Camaro was very close to the race win last week at Atlanta, and will definitely be looking here tonight for his very first ever WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win in its inaugural campaign. And remember, over the long run, despite how brash, despite how abrasive that Atlanta Motor Speedway was to these Xfinity Series cars, it didn't look like it really phased both Ethan Workman and Christian Visconti. Of course, Visconti was the winner out of that dynamic duo battle in the final laps of that race. But you got to give Ethan Workman credit as to what he's done. I mean, he was leading a majority of the race before he got passed by the 80 on the long run, and before that restart happened, and before Visconti was really able to pull away, and Workman wasn't really able to catch back up and make a fight out of it. But Ethan Workman on the right track tonight. This could be the very good spot for him to end up in victory lane tonight. Not from Atlanta, but from Kansas. He'll even out with Christian Visconti if he can get it done. But nobody has been able to get by Garrett A. White since the drop of the green flag. And so Workman will have a little bit of work, no pun intended, on his side. As he started 5th, he's now up to P2. He's got a bit of right side damage on that Ohio State car, but it shouldn't be enough to really affect him aerodynamically or handling-wise. So we'll just have to find out how he's going to fare on this restart and exactly what Garrett A. White is going to pull. The last time by, we saw him really rocket out in front of the field, rocketed in front of Logan Pugh to clear back to turn 1. And so you don't want to have that happen if you're the 25. You want to at least be a little even with the 26. Maybe let him clear, but just not let anybody else, most specifically Christian Visconti, get to the inside and force you to run a line you don't want to run in. So we should get the Wonders green signal here tonight from the Kansas Speedway to continue our Kansas 120. I believe the lights are officially out on the iRacing official pace truck, so indeed we will go back to green flag racing, and it appears Garrett White will choose back to the outside of row number 1. So, actually no, we would go single file. So the rule here from race control is that if we have a caution within 5 laps of the most recent restart, we would go single file. So it'll be the outside lane nonetheless. But Garrett White will have nobody on his inside. That's a fight for the lead by the time we get back to green flag racing. So it's White, Workman, Visconti, Lyons, and Timmy Spatz, your current top 5. Blake Kennedy has moved into P6. Grayson Collins, league owner, has made a nice jump up to P7. Mitch Hobbs has done the same after a very chaotic Atlanta race. He's in P8. Jin O'Mara in the 71 will be 9th, and Quentin Haley is related to a fellow NASCAR driver, Justin Haley. He currently wraps up the top 10. There he is in his FOE Chevrolet Camaro. So we'll anticipate the move down to the racetrack, maybe dirt racing style, out of this 26 car. Once the pace truck makes its way and the soft left down to pit road there, it'll do it. And Garrett White, it's all up to him to command this next restart. He's got full advantage. And as we come back to green from the Kansas 120 and the Kansas Speedway, 26 of White well clear by a couple of car lengths back to turn 1. Looks like a cleaner start overall by the field. A bit of side-by-side action underneath around the top 5. That's Brayson Collins looking underneath what appears to be Timmy Spatz in the 44. Actually, no, it's Blake Kennedy, and there's Mitch Hobbs as the caution will again wave, and it appears it may have been something near the rear of the field. And so we'll try to get a gauge on exactly where it happened, who might have been involved. But once again, Garrett A. White, the race leader, will have to slow down, and we will once more be under the yellow flag. We'll try to see exactly what might have occurred here, and it may have been around where Dimitri Mondros was at because they were in a large group in their own right. I'll try to get a look. There was the field coming by. Gonna try to get here is Chris Brown on the 136, so this is coming up back to the gears. Not sure if it happened in that little scuffle around turn 2. This is a stout pack nonetheless as they were coming out of that second corner. That's Joe Berge just in front of the 83. And it looks like right there, the 4 car got turned. And it may have been Aaron Giffen who went around. Indeed it was. So right in front of him, the 8 car Castillo. And it looks like he got turned maybe by Connor Havrilla. See Connor Havrilla. Actually, no, it was by Mason Sweet. So we saw these two get collected on the back straightaway to bring out one of our most recent yellows. And maybe some payback here by the 56 of Mason Sweet to repay the favor there, as I should say, to the driver of the 4. We'll try to see if race control does anything about that. But just a little bit of redemption here from the Kansas Speedway. And so both of them with significant damage. And it looks like, for the moment, Giffen is not going to be able to bring it back with significant damage. He's going to bring it back with at least a mostly potent race car, although he's got some crinkles on the right side. So we will again be under yellow here tonight from the Kansas Speedway. Garrett A. White leads the field. We'll take a short moment to step away, but you won't miss a thing as we continue our coverage of round 3 of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series from the virtual Kansas Speedway.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to coverage of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series in the Kansas 120 here on the KBueno Racing Network. Kenneth Bueno up in the broadcast booth, and we are watching the inside of the Toyota Supra that leads this race. Garrett A. White has commanded the field ever since taking it away on the opening lap of tonight's coverage. And for now, he will command us back to green. We had a recent crash involving Aaron Giffen in the 4 machine and the 56 of Mason Sweet. A bit of payback there from Sweet. No message so far from race control, so they will be okay. Seems to be fair play between the two in terms of a bit of aggression, a bit of tension, a bit of beef here from Kansas. We are ready to go back to green flag racing, of course, with the rule that this is a caution under 5 laps after the restart. And go back to green flag racing in single file fashion. Garrett White back up through the gas, back through the gears. We're back under green here from Kansas, and a couple of car length lead he'll have to Ethan Workman back to turn number 1. We'll find out if anybody tries to make a move up to this point. Going up, it looks like Timmy Spatz is trying to defend against Blake Kennedy. He'll work to the inside. Mitch Hobbs, who has made a generous effort through the field along with league owner Brayson Collins. He's going to try to be in a fight himself with what looks like the 71 of Merrow. He'll work to the inside, so they're both continue to fight for that position. That'll be just inside the top 7. And Mitch Hobbs will have the advantage out of turn 4. Nothing Merrow could do there. And as I talked about earlier in this race, that outside lane is most likely going to be the way to go here at this track. Usually that inside lane seems to be the best when it comes down to saving tires and obviously carrying momentum out of every corner. But here at Kansas, they try to even up the bottom lane, but that outside, right up tucked to the safer barrier, seems to be the best method of transportation to go up to the front and, of course, have momentum to make changes for position. Speaking of change for position, we had a slide job there. Christian Visconti makes a move underneath Ethan Workman, and so the winner last week at Atlanta is going to try to stay undefeated, at least on the 1.5-mile circuit. He makes that move for second, and now has to overcome an 0.8 of a second gap between himself and what is leader Garrett White. There's Lucas Lyons, a sand to the inside. He'll clam up barely there, and that'll push Mitch Hobbs into the outside wall. He slams into Timmy Spatz, and both of them go around. Caution, though, will wave once again, and that seemed to be obvious. That was gonna bring out a caution flag regardless of the circumstance, and Mitch Hobbs, who was making a fantastic effort to move up to the top 5, gets involved, and Timmy Spatz caught up in the mayhem. Unfortunately, the Old Town Chevrolet Camaro in a heap of trouble. And it all started with that checkup there from Lucas Lyons as he was trying to aim for the bottom underneath the 25 machine of Ethan Workman. We'll try to see exactly what happened, but you saw it there on the forefront of the screen as to how it all unfolded. And it seemed as though Mitch Hobbs, he was trying to get to the outside. Remember, we talked about that battle there. Blake Kennedy, who had just lost the battle with the 89. You see the 89 here. He's going to have some momentum. He's going to come to the outside of Timmy Spatz right there in turns 1 and 2. And there's no problem up to this point. It's just that Lucas Lyons in his car slides up the track, almost gets into Workman out of turn 2. He checks up massively, separates and splits Spatz and Hobbs. And then all of a sudden, Hobbs strikes the outside wall, comes back down the racetrack, and there is absolutely nothing for Timmy Spatz to do. There's on board, gets by Lyons, seems as like it's okay, and a big slam to the right side of his car. Look at Mitch Hobbs, exactly how he fared through. You see him slow down right there. Actually, no, really didn't get out of the gas that much and just travels down the racetrack, slamming into Spatz by the time they reach the back straightaway. And unfortunately, it takes both of them out, and it looks like Hobbs may be officially out of this race. So Hobbs, after the bad luck that occurred at Atlanta just 2 weeks ago, he will now unfortunately have to deal with another trip to the garage. And it will be most likely race over here for the driver of the 89. Meanwhile, we saw many hit the pit lane, and it appears as though Christian Visconti, the main winner out of pit road service. So we saw Visconti, if you remember, under one of the most recent cautions, pitted by himself. And it looked like none of the other leaders are going to go with him. Garrett A. White, for a good majority of this race, appeared as though he was going to wait to come down for his first pit stop of this Kansas 120. And Garrett A. White will go down pit road, but he will be second to Visconti. So White will not have the race lead, but if they do cycle around these old tire cars, he still most likely will not have the race lead unless he can get around that Visco car Chevrolet Camaro. So the new race leader will be Henry Clapper in the 34. There he is on 13-lap old tires. You have Wayne Castile right behind him by the time we go back green. RJ Starcevich in the 979 will round out the top three. And then we've talked about Dimitri Mondros in the 93. His kind of up and down evening. Had a couple of restarts where he began in the rear of the field. You see some heavy front-end damage on his Ford Mustang, although he's going to start in P4. I believe he has the oldest tires out of anyone here. Actually, he has the newest tires in 18 laps. It's Starcevich that has the oldest tires in the Alpha Prime Chevrolet Camaro, sort of similar to the scheme that Raja Karuth ran a little bit earlier in the campaign at the Chicagoland Speedway, or rather, I believe the Daytona International Speedway, when Monday Night Racing presented by Rowdy Energy kicked off Season 4. So nice to see Alpha Prime Racing being represented. That is going to be a real Xfinity Series team come 2022. And so now we wait for the lights to come out of the iRacing official pace truck, and we will go back green. It looks like Henry Clapper will come down pit road. So indeed, this will change the hands once again. And Wayne Castile, for the first time all night long, will be your race leader, barring any other last-minute decisions. So we will have another lead change here in this Kansas 120. So we will have a double file restart. Race control deems it safe to have double file restarts back in this race after the last couple of trips back to the start finish line after the caution flag. We're all single file, and now they're going to be cooped up double wide all the way through. It'll be the 8 of Wayne Castile. 979, as we mentioned, the oldest tires in the field up to this point. RJ Starcevich in his car. Jay Mulder in the 51 is recovered in his Limeade car after a bit of troubles earlier on in tonight's race. He will start in third. Dimitri Mondros, like we talked about, on rather old tires as well. He's in fourth. Garrett A. White, Tristan Visconti are the ones to watch because they will most likely, more often than not, pierce through this field. They have the freshest Goodyear Eagles out of anyone here. And so we'll look forward to seeing them climb through the field and whether they're able to do so in enough respective time. So pace truck will make its trip down to pit road. The 8 and the 979 will be the two drivers to command us back to racing. And Castillo, a bit of wheel spin from his Ford Mustang, but nonetheless, we're back under green in the Kansas 120. And a quick move there. Dimitri Mondros. Starcevich gets way loose as it looked like Garrett White tried to split there through the middle going into turn 3. Mulder hits the outside wall. It's a complete fan out back out of turn 4. And Dimitri Mondros has taken over control of the race lead. There he goes to the inside. And on rather fresh rubber, he's going to get over the 8 of Wayne Castile. But there's Garrett White inside. He got around Christian Visconti well more than enough. And as he works to the bottom, again, battle for the race lead. They're 3 wide just behind them. That's Joe Bergen, the 83, trying to make sure he can get out of harm's way. Right on board with him as they come to turn 3. A couple of drivers hit the outside wall. But Garrett White back in control of this race from the Kansas Speedway. He's watching everybody go 8 behind him. But he's okay. He has nothing to worry about. Lap 35 goes to the 26. And look at this, 3 wide around where Christian Visconti is. Remember, he's trying to pierce his way through on the fresh rubber. That's Starcevich on the outside line near the rear, getting swarmed by everybody else in the Hornet's Nest. And there's the 8 of Castillo into the outside wall, so he will check up massively. Jay Mulder is going to try and check up to get around him. And it's just a complete mess on the recent laps of this restart. You can tell easily the difference between everybody single file and everybody running double file back to the caution. Well, we have a caution now on lap 37 of 80. Looks like Frederick Seagraves is involved in this one after starting 27th to the opening green flag stint. A bit of damage on the right side, but it doesn't seem to be too much there, so we'll give ourselves a chance to look back on this and see exactly whether this was the cause of the yellow, and I believe it was. You'll see here 95 out of turn 4. That was a huge checkup, and it was actually Jay Mulder who went around. Remember, we saw him check up heavily for Wayne Castile that was slow on the outside lane in the outside wall. You'll see here 51 does a nice job to slow ahead. He slows up a little bit too much, and then may would be what did him in right there. Maybe it looked like Castile might have struck the outside wall. And so you'll see it here once again from the 51. Actually, right there, Castile got loose, forced the 51 down, gets into the 53. That's Ryan Martin. And then the 95 of Seagraves that has nothing to do but just try to slow down, try to hamper onto the brakes, and hope that he does not get involved. Right on board with Seagraves. He's got a good look at exactly what happens right in front of him. Oh, it almost makes contact there with Ryan Martin. Could have easily ripped off the front clip of his car, but luckily he stays in the grass, and with minimal damage to the right side, he will be okay. So we will again be under yellow here in this Kansas 120. And Garrett A. White will once again be forced to slow down here. What this may do, though, is it might force some of the drivers who stayed out on the recent yellow under old tires, maybe it forces them to come for pit lane service now that they have the opportunity to do so, and now most likely they have the chance to have fresher tires out of your leaders, even though it'll be probably separated by about 1, 2, maybe 3 laps at best, but it'll still be a difference that'll matter come to the end of this race. And we're now only halfway through this Kansas 120, so there is a decent amount of time to get back into the fight and potentially put yourself on the same page, if not just a little bit better than, let's say, Garrett White, or let's say a guy like Christian Visconti or Gino Mero, who put himself in between this top 3 and is now going to be 3rd by the time we get back to green flag racing. Ethan Workman, Hunter Collier, everybody in this group, they're all going to be in contention. And so with the ones that did stay out, although it was sort of a measly 4 or 5 cars, it's still possible to make the strategy work and maybe, just maybe, hold out, especially if a long run ends up occurring here from Kansas, which we haven't quite seen just yet. So while we are under caution, we'll take a moment to remind you that coverage of this Kansas 120 from the virtual Kansas Speedway is sponsored by Oregon Diecast. I want to thank Oregon Diecast for sponsoring multiple events this season. If you want, you could drop him a follow at Instagram at Oregon Diecast. Oregon Diecast was the premier sponsor of our first race at Daytona. And we'll be looking forward to see Oregon Diecast splattered across every which of the race names on multiple times throughout this inaugural WORC Dynamo Designs National Series campaign. So be sure to keep up with them. Keep tabs with the Oregon Diecast page on Instagram. And of course, you will see their name all over the KBueno Racing Network through many of the races in this season. Of course, there's a lot of races to look forward to. Of course, I mentioned earlier in the show that Las Vegas will be making its showing on the KBueno Racing Network. It'll be 2 races from now, but the brand new Phoenix Raceway will take place in that race next week. On the KBueno Racing Network, we have yet to have a race from that reconfigured, rescanned, and of course, reinvigorated Phoenix Raceway. It looks very nice in the sim, a beautiful track that iRacing put out not too long ago. And so we'll be excited to have our broadcast there in 1 week time on January 6th, and of course had the opportunity to have our winner drive directly into victory lane. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But some of the marquee events we'll have throughout this season, noted by league owner Brayson Collins. Road America is going to have its showing in this season 1 schedule, so we will have a very interesting road course. I believe it is the only road course in this season. But we have a bunch of short tracks on the way as well. Of course, Phoenix, sort of one of those short tracks, but we would take it more grassroots style when we go to the Irvindale Speedway on January 27th. You won't want to miss that. And then in the final race of the regular season, race number 10 on February 17th, just before the Daytona 500, we'll have coverage from Volusia, a dirt track to finalize the regular season and to conclude the drivers to make it into the season playoffs. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You won't want to miss a lot of the coverage that we will have here on the KBueno Racing Network. It is going to be a very exciting season, and over the first 2 races, we've seen just how far that excitement can go. It's definitely been a very interesting 3rd race, to say the least, with Garrett White trying to be the 3rd different winner over the first 3 races. So with this yellow, we will again go double file on the restart. Garrett White, of course, in the Clemson Toyota Supra is your race leader. Dimitri Roundros, who made a little bit of a surge over the old tire camp. We'll see if he gets beat this time around. He'll be on the outside of that first row. Gino Merrill has made a nice move up to 3rd. Christian Visconti will be to his outside in P4. Ethan Workman will be the final driver in the top 5, followed by Hunter Collier, Lucas Lyons, Kiloa Hankins, TJ Powell, and the 57 of Shane Fuller. Pace truck is down. The Supra and the Mustang ready to get back through the gears and back under green. We're back underway in the Kansas 120. Good start by Garrett White. You see Mandros already trying to clear off Gino Mero. It's not going to be enough. Back to turn 171 inside for P2. That is quick work out of Merrill, and of course Mandros is just trying to brace for impact as he has the oldest tires out of anybody up front. Here comes Visconti now to the inside. He'll be followed by former Super Speedway champion Hunter Collier, and so they will go all the way to the inside lane. Collier trying to find a nose down, but just can't quite have the momentum out of turn 4. We may have a pass here. Ethan Workman now heavily under fire by Visconti back to turn 1. And he got a bit squirrely in 1 and 2, gonna allow Mandros to catch back up and follow through in the draft. But Garrett White has already pulled to about a half a second advantage over Gino Mero. White has definitely been the standout driver tonight, and he has yet to make any crucial mistakes. We'll have to find out as we continue through. How about Kiloa Hankins in the 72? This is his first start, mind you, in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. And if you've been a fan of the KBueno Racing Network for a while, you will know this name quite well. He's picked up wins on LWRC competition. We saw him make his very first start and have his very first win come at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And so good to see Kiloa Hankins back on track here in the service, and his McDonald's Ford Mustang is already up in good terms. Started in 24th, and now he's up to P7. Riding on board there for just a moment. Now here's Hunter Collier. Remember, he was trying to make the move under the 93 a couple of laps ago and still can't get the momentum out of turn 2, so he will once again have to focus on the next corner, hit the reset button. But meanwhile, Christian Visconti getting the best here. The 25 of Workman going to slide up out of turn 4. Workman's going to have the run. We'll see if he makes anything out of it, but so far Visconti is going to be able to clear. Top 5 all broken apart from each other. It seems as though this is where the pack is closest, around the latter half of the top 10 and even just outside of it, because we see Henry Clafford. We saw him come down pit road earlier on a restart, Brayson Collins. He's in the outside wall for a moment. He's going to check up severely as the 77 of Ethan Harrison, who had a bit of a wolf out of turn 2 on the opening lap. Going to try to rebound here in his Arizona Toyota Supra. Casual 3 wide back to turn 1. That's Joe Berge to the inside in his Nova Sim Racing Supra. He'll dive in. Collins is going to have to brace for impact here, be further back in this group. And so Joe Berge will be up through, and now he's up to P10. A great drive so far from Joe Berge. I mean, look at the recovery that he's had from 30th on the starting grid, and throughout all the chaos, throughout all the cautions that have been waved so far tonight in this Kansas 120, Joe Berge has had the opportunity to move up through the field. He is plus 20 from the drop of the green flag, but this time yellow flag will come out once again. We will remain under caution. And now it's all about finding out who was involved. May appear to be the 4 of Aaron Giffen. Remember, he saw him involved in an incident with Mason Sweet on the back straightaway. So not sure if this was a repeated offense here by the 4, if he was involved again. And indeed it was him, and it looked like maybe Connor Hervilla in the number 20 machine. So watch out at turn 2. They start to pack in. That's Mason Sweet who got loose, and then as they were trying to avoid it all, a bit of contact between the 4 and the 20. And that slowly but surely sends the 20, or the 4 rather, into a sideways spin right about there. And as they were checking up across the track, it looks like Connor Hervilla was spinning back across there on the surface. So that's exactly what brings us under yellow. And it's been a rough night for both Connor Hervilla and Aaron Giffen. Both of them started off rather strong, but unfortunately they have significant damage on their cars. Hervilla having arguably the worst end of the damage out of anybody in this race. There he is in the People Ready Chevrolet Camaro. We saw him do fairly well at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, so unfortunate to see that he's not able to really repeat with the damage that he has. Some of the leaders went down pit road. Garrett A. White among them. The 80 of Christian Visconti also down. Ethan Workman looks like he also made the stop, so everybody's following each other. That's the 71 Amaro, Joe Berge, Henry Clapper, Dimitri Maundros. There is Blake Kennedy. Ethan Workman with a slow pit stop. He's going to lose a lot of positions out of that. And so what that would do is cycle the lead to Hunter Collier in the 98 machine. So he will be the next driver to take control of this race. Well, as we're already well more than halfway throughout this Kansas 120, I'll remind you that we have a race summary to get through, and our race summary is presented to us by Supermix. Of course, with that stay out on pit road, Hunter Collier, barring any recent changes, will be your race leader by the time we get back on the restart. We have 48 laps complete, 32 laps remaining, so pretty much already more than halfway throughout this 80-lap race. We've had a total of 6 lead changes so far, and a total of 6 cautions. To match those lead changes, a total of 20 laps under the yellow flag. This one being our most recent, and of course that tally will add up on the lap counter for caution with that most recent crash between Connor Hervilla and the 4 of Aaron Giffen. So there's actually now 7 lead changes that will add on to Hunter Collier's stay out on pit road. So a nice job there to add on to the tally, and we will continue there as Hunter Collier has also done a good job so far of catching through the field. Started back in 17th. He's up to the race lead currently in this Kansas 120. So while we're under caution, we'll take a moment to step aside once more. You won't miss a thing though. Final 30 laps of this race on the other side. Continue watching on the KBueno Racing Network. We've got more from the Kansas Speedway as Hunter Collier continues to manage this race. Back to green flag racing in the Kansas 120 for the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series here on the KBueno Racing Network. Hunter Collier was the most recent car to stay out in the race lead, and as they come back for turn 1, he is the outright convincing leader by a couple of car lengths over the 77 of Ethan Harrison. Of course, there were competitors near the rear of the field who did come down pit road, most notably former race leader and most dominant driver tonight, the 26 of Garrett A. White. He'll be just behind Shane Fuller. We'll see how he can do climbing up to the field. It was rather easy work on one of the most recent opportunities that happened as they barely strike the outside wall. This time he'll duck the nose just barely there to that outside lane. He'll tuck back in, back to turn 1. But Garrett White is looking back to the race lead and trying to get his first ever WORC Dynamo Designs National Series win in the 3rd race of this season. Nothing Fuller can do. There is RJ Starcevich in the 979 as he works now to the outside using the dominant lane. The 77 Ethan Harrison gets into the outside wall. That'll force those two back under. 3 wide for a moment. But Garrett White now back up to P2. And we definitely give him credit on what he's been able to do so far up to this point. I mean, he's led the most laps outright out of anybody in this race. But even when people stay out, even when there's a buffer so far under the caution flag, he's still been able to make easy work. He's still been unfazed by anyone. And up to this point, he's now just a couple of tenths away from your race leader. There's a couple of lap cars there. That's Mason Sweet in the 56. Looks like Connor Hervilla was also rejoining the racetrack on the bottom. So everybody will be able to clear them for the most part. And look at side by side here. Maybe a third-party attack from the 71 of Gino Merrill. Remember, Merrill's on fresh tires comparative to the likes of Fuller and a couple of others near the front. And so Merrill tries to look to the outside. Sweet will block off the 57, so it'll continue the freight train on that outside as he tries to find a way to get through all of this. And there's Brayson Collins. There's Christian Visconti. They're all trying to find their way into the midst of the top 5. Brayson Collins has also done a nice job moving up to the field. We talked about the move from Joe Berge to be from 30th to 10th by the time we got the most recent caution flag. Brayson Collins from 25th, he's moved up to 6th, and now he's back to 7th as Christian Visconti will easily take control of that position. He'll be on the underside of the 5. Make sure he will clear Ethan Workman now. Going to be the next one on tap to potentially take this spot away, but it is slowly crammed in. The gap for the race lead, it is now just 3/10 of a second, actually less than 3/10 of a second. Hunter Collier has fallen off. The older tires starting to bite him just a bit, and so Garrett White at this point slowly chiming in and slowly knocking on the door. He's going to have RJ Starcevich so as the driver to follow. So not like White is really the only one knocking on Hunter Collier's front porch. It's now just 1/10 of a second, and here comes White back to the outside. He's got a good one off turn 2. Here's Gino Mero now. He'll work to the bottom side. That is going to be for P3. He'll dive it all the way through, potentially get 2 birds with 1 stone. Not going to be able to do it. So it's side by side for P2. Merrill barely able to clear their door-to-door off of turn 4. Merrill gonna fall back here. He's gonna fall in line just behind the 26, understanding that, hey, there's still a bigger task at hand, and it is to get around this 98 of Hunter Collier. Starcevich falls off to P4 at the moment. Christian Visconti, remember, we talked about his move there underneath. The 5 of Brayson Collins has also passed the 57 of Shane Fuller. And so Visconti has also done a nice job. Now here he comes underneath Starcevich for what's going to be P4 on the racetrack. And the caution flag waves once again. Everybody was trying to find their rhythm. But all of a sudden we have ourselves another crash on the racing track. And I believe Kiloa Hankins may be out of this race. Not exactly sure what may have happened. It may have involved him on the racetrack. We'll try to take a moment and see whether it was the case or whether anybody else got caught up in it. We'll see with Joe Berge whether there was a cause of incident, potentially out of turn 4. And it didn't seem like it from the mid-pack of the field, so maybe something happened at play near the rear of the field. We'll ride on board here with the 53 of Jarek Hernandez. This is him, and there's a car heavy on the inside wall. And that seems to be Logan Pugh in the 01. Remember, we saw him up to the front of the field, and he had a wild moment out of the corner. See him right there out of turn 2. Bam, strikes the outside wall. And then tries to keep the car straight. I believe tried to keep it footed in as well. And then bam, right into the inside wall he went. And Logan Pugh had been in an incident earlier tonight. Hence, he had the front clip completely torn off of the race car. But this is just the insult to injury. And this may indeed be the end of Logan Pugh's race, as I believe he's already pulled it behind the garage. His race is indeed over from the virtual Kansas Speedway. So while we're under yellow once again, we will cross the line for 20 laps to go, and Garrett A. White has made his shot down pit road once again, but this time not without a fight. Joe Berge, the first one to come out, and it's a great pit stop there for the 83. It was a total of 5.7 seconds, maybe only just fuel on that Toyota Supra. And Garrett A. White is going to be able to beat Hunter Collier out of pit road for P8. So that will leave Gino Merrill currently first on the racetrack. RJ Starcevich, we saw him sort of float around the top 5. He's now going to be in second. And it seems as though Christian Visconti is also made an attempt to come down for service. Same deal for Brayson Collins, Blake Kennedy, DJ Powell. Looks like everybody beneath what appears to be the top 5 have all gone down pit road. So that leaves the top 3 as the drivers here with the oldest tires in the field. Most of them around lap 20 to 28. And so it looks like Hunter Collier and them are going to fall back here. Actually, not rather Hunter Collier. The RJ starts of its machine, the 979. And what's going to be... there was another driver in that mix as well, I believe Ethan Workman. And so we'll have a restart here with just about 20 laps to go from the virtual Kansas Speedway. Of course, happy that you're joining us here on the KBueno Racing Network. And if you're tuning right now on YouTube, you can join the conversation with us up in the broadcast booth using hashtag AskKBueno. You can put that hashtag followed by any question you desire to ask. We'll be sure to answer it as soon as possible and to the best of our abilities. That's hashtag AskKBueno for anything you want to know. So remember how we talked about under caution around halfway that our lead change ticked to 7. What it's going to tick down, or tick up rather, to 8, as Gino Mero will be the new inheritant of the race lead. This is the first time that the 71 has taken control of this race all night long. And Dimitri Malandros, who started on the pole for the Atlanta race just 2 weeks ago, trying to have a shot up at the front once again. And with these top 2 staying out, of course, it is going to be not as big of a buffer for the likes of Garrett A. White and others to come into the front of the field. So while there is some work to do for the cars back here, it is not going to be as big of a job as it is, let's say, there's 5, 6, 7, or even more cars out on the racetrack staying out on old Goodyear Eagles. I don't believe there's a tire set limit for this series, so when you see the leaders come down pit road, they just know they have tires available. They feel that it's fit to come down for the extra grip on the restarts. And of course, just trying to make sure they get fresh rubber for the end of this race, because that is going to be key here at this Kansas Speedway. It's not necessarily an abrasive track. It's not a track that has shown its age ever since it was built back in 2001. However, it still wears the tires down significantly, and when you have low downforce, it doesn't help with the rubber grip underneath in the shoes of the race cars. So fresh tires, fresh rubber overall on the Goodyear Eagles is going to be pivotal. It's going to be paramount when it comes down to the end of the race, and the final 20, especially if we stay green, is arguably going to be the most important part of that last stint. And for Garrett White, for many of the main leaders, they're going to look forward to seeing that happen. They're going to look forward to a potential long green flag run. I believe our last run was our longest. Hopefully we end up on the long train tonight. But we'll just have to find out. Gino Mero, Dimitri Malandros, the 2 prancing horses, the Ford Mustangs, will lead us back to green flag racing. Mero, this is his first time up at the front in the race lead, and he's going to have no problem getting up to the front, and he's taking the green flag in the Kansas 120. He's clear by a couple of car lengths back to turn 1. Looks like Ethan Workman and Joe Berge already trying to take over Malandros. And look at Garrett White to the middle. He's going to get turned out of turn 2. That was Lucas Lyons in his car that got into him. And as they drift down for the inside wall, luckily they both don't hit it, but the caution indeed comes out once again. This is the first time we see Garrett White in any sort of peril in this race. And with the most amount of damage, that's been it. The little scratch on the left rear. And as he tried to split it middle 3 wide to catch back up to the race lead, it came to bit him right there at the very end. We'll take a look at the replay, and of course, but you saw it there as they were coming out of turn 4. Looks like Lyons was on the inside. They were both fighting for position. And it seemed to be no problem up until Ethan Workman was on the outside, and Garrett tried to split it at 3. Looks like Joe Berge came up to barely block. But that did not force a checkup out of any of them. They were still content with running 100%. But it's right here as they start to cram up. Looks like Lyons thought maybe he was clear for a moment just behind the 26 machine. Unfortunately, he was not clear by a mere inches there between the two. And that catches both of them in a very awkward circumstance, and of course sends Garrett White around towards the inside wall. Right on board here with the 26 as he tries to make this move happen. You just hear the dead silence and only the screeching of the Goodyear Eagles. And Remember, he had taken a trip down pit road, so not sure if that's going to flat spot those tires or what that's going to do to the performance of that Toyota Supra. But for the first time all night long, Garrett White is in a tough, compromising position near the rear of the field. Of course, with that incident, race control, I don't believe have taken any measures here based on that incident, as they were just trying to catch up through position, make some of the space work out of turn 2. And unfortunately, with Lucas Lyons and Garrett White, both of them respectively are going to lose all the track position, and they're going to lose a lot of time here. So there's going to be a lot more cars on display for them to try and catch and to try and beat, which means the mission to catch up to race leader Gino Mero is going to be only harder in the final 15 laps of this race. So Mera had taken easy control. Dimitri Maldros, despite being on some of the older tires in the field, looks like he's been able to hold on in a way. That Red Bull 893 Ford Mustang has done a nice job to keep himself up front. And Joe Berge, we mentioned, he's route from P30 on this race in the starting grid. He's now up to the highest he's ever been all night long in P3. Ethan Workman currently rounds out the top 4, and Hunter Collier, remember, he made his trip down pit road and took the race lead for just a little bit. He rounds up the top 5 currently here in this Kansas 120. So if you're enjoying the coverage tonight on the KBueno Racing Network for the Kansas 120 here in round number 3 of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, so we've got more coming to you live next Thursday night, January 6th at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. We will have coverage of round 4 of the inaugural season, and we'll be live on the West Coast from the Phoenix Raceway. We'll have, again, our coverage at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, and you can catch it right here on the KBueno Racing Network YouTube channel. This is the final race of the 2021 year for the KBueno Racing Network, and of course I believe that WORC race will be our very first broadcast of 2022. So very excited to cap off 2021 with this series, and very excited, of course, to start 2022 with this same series, and hopefully we see developments, more storylines come our way with new drivers ending up in victory lane, and we continue to have a great season, much like we've had over the first 2 races and over the course of the first 66 laps of this event. If you watch the last 2 nights on the KBueno Racing Network and MaxSpeed TV YouTube channels, of course, you found that 4Wide Racing Series crowned their champions. They're looking to return on February 1st. The ARCA Series will start on that first day of February. Second day of February will be the slot for the 4Wide Racing Cup Series on Wednesday night. So, again, I want to extend our congratulations on behalf of the KBueno Racing Network to both Tony Kibbett and AJ Green, the 2 champions on that side of the field. And so we hope they're well underway on their celebrations. Hopefully they're celebrating their new year in style among the 4Wide community. And of course, again, congratulations to them. We hope to see them into the next season. You saw Tony Kibbett get crowned the 4Wide Cup champion on the, or 4Wide ARCA champion rather, on the KBueno Racing Network. And you saw AJ Green as the 4Wide Cup champion on Wednesday night on MaxSpeed TV. And so that'll leave the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series as really the only series here to be our mainstay programming on Thursday night every single week. So be sure to catch that all the way through April 7th. We'll have coverage of each and every race up until the championship finale at the Homestead Miami Speedway. So back to the coverage here at Kansas 120. Gino Mero, currently your race leader. Dimitri Maldros is in second. We talked about Joe Berge's move up to P3 tonight. Ethan Workman, Hunter Collier rounding out your current top 5. We're ready to get the restart here, and of course with the caution coming out under 5 laps after our most recent restart, we will not go double file racing. Instead, we will go single file on this restart. Look at Workman already trying to get the best of Joe Berge coming to the start finish line, but Gino Mero clearing away back to turn 1. It looks like with the attrition, it's kind of separated through the field and is now let everybody to have a little bit more space here and there between themselves and other drivers. There's Workman trying to fully clear Hunter Collier and trying to make the inside slide job work on Berge. Will it work? Answer is yes. Only for a slight moment, because Berge comes back to the inside. So it is door to door for what is the final spot on the podium, and they are both stalling each other's progress all the way to Dimitri Maldros. Berge is going to finally be able to clear. Looks like Workman tucked back, almost gave him the bumper, coming into 1 and 2. Very close indeed out of the second corner, and now Workman will try to give as far as a push as he can, but here comes Collier back to the inside. 3 wide for the moment. In the middle of 3 and 4, Hunter Collier, though, has found space underneath the 83. And while all that's happening, Gino Merrill has pulled out to a half a second gap between himself and Dimitri Mandros, and he loves what he's seeing in the rearview mirror. He wants these drivers to continue to battle because that's only going to allow himself to extend his lead. Coming to 10 laps to go, Hunter Collier makes that move on Berge and going to clear for third. Right on board here with the driver of the 98, and all he has to focus through the next 2 drivers right in front of him. Remember, Dimitri Mandros is on older tires, so it is going to help Collier's case to get around, as the 93 is just naturally slower based on the grip. And right there out of turn 2, you can tell the difference and the advantage that Collier has, especially on this type of run. He's going to dive it to the bottom side, going to tuck right to that white line and go right underneath the Red Bull machine. He will clear for P2. We'll see if Mandros has a retaliation attack. The answer is going to be no here. So Collier already making quick progress. And now he has 1 driver remaining, but the time is running out. We come to 9 laps to go from the virtual Kansas Speedway in this Kansas 120. And it looks like Merrill, who took control of the lead not too long ago in this race, is going to be able to potentially hold through. Only problem is, he's got 12 lap older tires. So while he holds the lead in the clean air for now, the grip at some point is going to start to turn on the side of Collier. Remember, we saw Christian Visconti and Joe Berge also do well on the grip, as Visconti has passed the 83. He's now up to 4th. But the time may not be there for them. But it may be here for Hunter Collier, who's trying to make his way. He's going to work to the inside, and the gap is now down to 0.5 of a second. That last time by, it was almost dead even between the top 2 leaders. Merrill made a 31.712. Meanwhile, Hunter Collier ran a 31.7 flat as Christian Visconti finds a way to the inside. And this driver right here was easily the fastest, a 31.2. Actually, that's a 31.639 for Christian Visconti. So at this point now, he's starting to catch both of the leaders in the final laps of this race. Remember, Visconti looking to stay undefeated on the intermediate side after winning Atlanta 2 weeks ago. And as Gino Merrill, Hunter Collier try to run the high side, Visconti is doing as much as he can with the tires that he has available to him. And he is now caught up to the back bumper of Hunter Collier. The gap is shrinking between the 2, but a caution comes out. It's Shane Fuller spun out into the grass. We'll see if anybody else is involved in this chaos. But that will bring the field to rest once again and may force Merrill to come down for pit road. Coming to 5 laps to go, we get again another yellow in this Kansas 120. And we're going to find out exactly what happened. This is a 3-car mess out of turn 4, and unfortunately involves the 25 of Ethan Workman. We saw him do so well all night long. And so right there, gets hit the outside wall. No problems as Fuller makes the pass. A slight bump in the 25. It's right about there. They both make contact. The 68 gets the third-party contact. And then as Fuller was trying to keep the car straight, he goes for a 90-degree angle. Sails into the grass, and that brings us under caution once and for all. So with that, it puts the leaders in a very interesting spot, because they may have to come down pit road, and this is going to help Merrill, no doubt, because he's going to be able to have fresh tires if everybody else does pit with him. Only problem is, if they don't go out, they end up staying out here on this stint. It may put Merrill in a heap of trouble, and Merrill is actually going to stay out. Everybody looks to be staying out this time by, so nobody wants to go down pit road. And it looks like this is all going to be about track position, and we talk about how that's very relevant, how that's very important at 1.5 mile tracks. And in the final laps of this race, nobody wants to take the risk. It looked for a moment that everybody was going to come down for service based on the amount of laps that they've put on their tires. Of course, Merrill with the oldest tires in the field at a total of 29. Everybody else, though, has at least 17 laps on their stint. So you'd imagine all of them to come down pit road, but the track position is just too important to let go, because at some point, somebody somewhere is going to stay out, and somebody somewhere is going to put that risk out there and is just going to try and do it. Just going to try and pull it off and hope it sticks. But everybody wants to be on the conservative side. Nobody wants to take the risk to come down for pit road. And so Gino Merrill will lead us back to green, which it looks like it'll come down to 2 laps to go. So while we're under yellow, I believe we're going to be here for a green-white checkered attempt. We had one at the Daytona International Speedway, and I believe in this series, there's only one available to each and every driver and to each and every race. So once a green-white checkered attempt gets exhausted, the race will end under caution. Whoever is your leader will walk away the winner. We had it happen, of course, with Benjamin A. White. It's happened previously in many other series. Of course, the KBueno Racing Network, 4-Wide Racing ARCA Series race, rather, at the Homestead of Miami Speedway, had all green-white checkered attempts exhausted, and that led Jake Rowell to the race win in South Florida. So could this happen for Merrill, or could Collier, Visconti, or anybody else take advantage and potentially make this pass for the Kansas 120 victory and get to victory lane for the first time this season? Of course, that 71 has not gone to victory lane in the campaign. Neither has Collier. Visconti is the only one in the top 5 that has. Of course, Visconti trying to go 2 in a row. And Benjamin A. White, who won the first race this season, is not even here. So the only defending winner that is in reach of the race win is going to be that Visco car Chevrolet of Christian Visconti. Everybody else is just going to have to try their best to either play defense, or in the case of Collier, play some offense on Gino Merrill and get him in a spot where he doesn't want to be, maybe force him out of the groove, maybe cost him some time. And Collier could try to pull ahead while also making sure that Visconti stays behind of it all. So this is gonna be the format for the green-white checkered restart. Of course, we'll have everybody lined up. Not sure whether it's going to be single file or double file. We're going to find out here as the iRacing official pace truck will come around for 1 to green and give the signal to the rest of the field. We will double ourselves up. We'll go back on a restart here with exactly 2 laps to go. And of course, this is all going to be in an attempt to finish this race. Indeed, we will go double file. So Gino Merrill will have Hunter Collier to his outside in that first row. We will go green with 2 laps to go. We'll try to get back to the white flag. If a caution comes out before the leader does get to the white, in the case of this series, there are no extra attempts, so the race will end under yellow, and whoever has the nose out front, whoever timing and scoring deems the race leader, is going to be the race winner tonight from the Kansas Speedway. However, if we do get to the white flag, whatever happens after that happens. It's just about whoever gets to the start-finish line first to grab the checkered flag waved by Barney the Flagman. And either we'll have a 3rd different winner in tonight and for the season, or we'll have a repeat winner in the case of Christian Visconti if he can be able to get it done. So Gino Merrill, Hunter Collier, your first row on this race for the finish. Christian Visconti and Blake Kennedy will round out your row number 2. Dimitri Manjos wraps up the top 5 with RJ Starcevich in the Alpha Prime Camaro to his outside in P6. Garrett A. White is back up to 7th with DJ Powell to his outside in row 4. Chris Brown, Grayson Collins, your final drivers in the top 10. Ready to get it kicked off for a green-white checkered restart. It's an early jump from the 71 of Gino Merrill. We're back under green from Kansas in the final restart of the race. And this is exactly what Merrill needed. Get the gap between himself and Collier and Visconti and just let them play amongst themselves. Let them battle for position. Let them lose the time. Starcevich is into the outside wall. Comes back down the track. He's going to be able to save it. Everybody scrambles through to turn 3. Do we have a caution? So far, it'll be no. But Gino Merrill is off of turn 4 for the white flag. Here comes Collier with an attack. White flag in the air in the Kansas 120 in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. Here comes Collier inside for the race lead. And he's not going to have enough. Christian Visconti is going to be there. Visconti to the bottom of the track for the lead on the inside. He'll be able to clear in the middle of the corner. And after winning Atlanta 2 weeks ago, out of the 4th corner, he'll be able to get it. Merrill back to the inside. Photo finish, but I believe Visconti comes to the win at Kansas. Timing and scoring says it. Visconti is your winner His car completely destroyed, and as they were wrecking to the line, he had the nose out front by just 2/100ths of a second. And it's a different ending than Atlanta. Atlanta, he pulled away by more than a second to second on back. But it's the attempt at the final lap pass that gets him to victory lane for the second time in this season, as he takes the Kansas 120 here from the Kansas Speedway. We need to look at that one more time. That deserves a replay in its own right. And we'll look at it off of the most recent restart. Of course, this was coming back to green. Now, what the 71 needed was just that buffer. He wanted to see the 98 and the 80 go at it for P2. Wanted to see them battle. Wanted to see them hold each other up. But unfortunately for him, they do not. Watch this restart. They come out of 1 and 2. 71 will have the advantage. No problem there. But all of a sudden, they're going to start to cram through. It looked like the 71 got a little bit tight out of turn 2. So it looked like that's what lost them a heap amount of time. Visconti tries to dive to the bottom. But already by this time, as they're coming for the white flag, no doubt Mero is in some sort of trouble here, trying to play defense to the leaders. You see Collier there gain the momentum. He doesn't have the move set up. He's going to try it here at 1 and 2. Tags the nose to the inside. He slides up the track. But this is what's going to open the door here for the 80 of Visconti. That outside lane has just been too dominant here from Kansas. There goes Visconti to the bottom. Mero tries a slight block, but knows that he's already there. The 80 tries the slide job, loses the time out of 4, which is what gives Mero another shot at winning this race. Collier hits the outside wall, and as they're coming for the line, they block to the grass. They crash as they're coming for the checkered flag. And then they continue to pile up, but Visconti wins it barely by the slimmest of margins. And of course, that's his second race win in this season. This is the gap right here as they were coming to the line. Visconti tries to block. Mero tries to hold out hope. He gets sent to the grass. And they don't make contact here, but it's coming back up to the line where they do. 71 tries to get back on the surface. Visconti kind of dives down. Right about here may have sealed the fate for the 71 as the 80 finds the momentum. 71 comes to the outside wall, and it's right there. So close between the two. The results in Visconti winning tonight's race from Kansas. An unbelievable way to settle this one. And it is Christian Visconti, your race winner here tonight in the Kansas 120 in the third race of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. So as he celebrates with a beat-up Chevrolet Camaro, we'll take a moment to take a look at your full race results, see exactly where everybody went to the checkered flag at the end of 81 completed laps. Christian Visconti, your race winner. It's his second race win in a row, his second in this season. He prevents a third different winner to happen in the third race. Gino Mero, so close to the win out of turn 4. Unfortunately, he comes up short by 2/100ths of a second. Hunter Collier receives the third place credit after a great race from him and a great attempt at the pass for the lead in the final laps. Blake Kennedy, a quiet race for him. We didn't talk about him too much, but the 54 rounds out the top 4. Garrett White, as much as he tried that contact out of turn 2 with Lucas Lyons, put him to the rear of the field, and he could only suffice for P5 on the racetrack. Chris Brown on the 136, after starting well, finishes well. He'll finish P6. Dimitri Mandros, a nice solid recovery effort after what happened in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. He finishes in P7. DJ Powell rounds up the top 8. Joe Berge, after starting P30, ends up P9 on the racetrack. And league owner Brayson Collins rounds out your top 10. Ethan Harrison in the 77 finishes 11th. RJ Starcevich in the 979, a great run for him. He comes home P12. Henry Clappard will arrive in P13. It'll be 14th for Lucas Lyons at the checkered flag. Shane Fuller in the Sunoco machine does not get a second straight podium finish. He rounds up the top 15 here in the Kansas 120. Ryan Martin with a bit of front end damage earlier on tonight. He finishes in P16. 17th will belong to the 4 of Aaron Giffen. Had a rough night, but somehow tried to rebound to the top 20. Ethan Workman, in a recent crash before that finish, ends up 18th. Mason Sweet and Jarek Hernandez round out your top 20. Way more drivers to get through, though. Before we're done with the results page, Frederick Seagraves is the first driver, I believe, one lap down on the track, 21st. Jay Moto, the Canadian, not a great result for him in 22nd. Timmy Spatz, Tyson Gifford, and Connor Havrilla round out the top 25, followed by Logan Pugh, who unfortunately went into the inside wall on the back straightaway, causing a caution. Kiloa Hankins, as well as his race went in his first start, comes home P27, 32 laps down. Quentin Haley, not a great race for him either in the 13 car. 28th, it'll be for him, 45 laps down. He'll share the lap down tally with Wayne Castile in the 8 car in 29th. Nick Penna rounds out the top 30. Here are the final drivers in this 34 car field: Mitch Hobbs, Bennett Parsons, Harrison Mitchell, and Josh Patterson. 34 cars started this race. It was down to 2 at the start-finish line, and it's Christian Visconti out of the rest of the field to come away victorious in the Kansas 120 here from the virtual Kansas Speedway. It'll be our time to take a moment to talk with your winner, Christian Visconti. And Christian, last week to this week, I think the biggest difference in the finishes of these races, you walked away, it was a walk-off win at Atlanta, but then you come back here and you go down to a green-white checkered restart to win this race. Give us your perspective, give us the thoughts on how that was in the final laps.
I mean, that was just wild. I mean, the couple, Gino and Hunter in front of me were on old tires, so I knew I had a chance if we stayed green, and then we had that late caution. I thought for sure it was going to screw me, but I was thankfully, able to get around him eventually. I was trying to make a move on Collier coming to the white into 3. He took my line, but then thankfully in turn 1 it all worked out. When it zipped around him, and then was able to make just a absolute bonsai on Gino for the win. And I want to apologize to him. We talked about it. We're all good. Kind of just met in the middle at the finish there, but hopefully it was at least exciting.
Well, I think from the booth, I think I was on my feet. I wasn't even close to my chair. Just how close it was. 2 100ths of a second between you and the 71. And going into the season, of course, you had a great round at Daytona to start it off. As crazy as that was to end that race. And then Atlanta seemed to be the place where it looked like you were going to be a threat to behold on the 1.5-mile tracks. What about this style of racing helps you perform so well, especially with Atlanta 2 weeks ago and Kansas tonight, where you obviously did well over the course of the race and you end up coming away with a win?
I mean, I think it's just kind of how the Xfinity cars drive. I mean, I guess I didn't think of myself as necessarily a great driver, but, having to modulate that throttle, save tires and stuff, I guess it plays into my wheelhouse pretty well, thankfully. I just like how these cars drive, I guess.
Well, you take the Visco car Chevrolet to Victor Lane for the second time this season. What is going to be the mindset now that you've got 2 wins in the campaign? Do you look at Phoenix as the next opportunity? Do you see Las Vegas? Are there any other places that you have your eye on, or it's going to be try to win all the races all the way to the playoffs?
I'm definitely going to try and go 3 in a row next week and, trying to keep racking up wins. But I guess right now, main thing is just trying to keep that regular season points lead and try to win that title so I can have some playoff points for the playoffs and rack up those while I can.
Well, you've already got a plethora of playoff points between 2 weeks ago in the win at Atlanta, and of course tonight's thrilling finish here at the Kansas Speedway. Christian, before we let you go, is there anybody you just want to thank for making this all possible? Any team sponsors or just anybody else you just like to give the love and shout outs to?
Yep, Josh Patterson with Dynamo Designs. He painted this car. I guess it's lucky. 3 straight top 2s. Tyson Gifford with Limeade Media. Make sure you guys check him out on Instagram. Bryson Collins and the rest of the WORC admin team for running this, and of course thanks to you for broadcasting this season.
Well, we certainly appreciate the support, Christian. Want to congratulate you on behalf of the KBueno Racing Network on this crazy win here tonight in the Kansas 120 from the Kansas Speedway, and of course wishing you the best of luck for the rest of the season, and of course next week we'll take our first trip to the Phoenix Raceway.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That is Christian Visconti, the 80 machine, your winner by 2 100ths of a second. It was over. This Ford Mustang car who had stayed out on the older tires of the field, and somehow Gino Mero in the 71, after starting 29th tonight, arrives in P2 just short of the win. But a great result nonetheless out of this Sim Pit Ford Mustang. We're bringing Gino from pit road, and obviously, it looked like you had the lead, looked like you had the advantage, and of course the older tires did not help you. I mean, just give us your thoughts, tell us what happened there in the final laps on that green-white checkered.
Oh, my game plan was to just stay out and see if I can just pull away due to wrecks or whatever, but I knew Visconti had the good tires and he had the pace to catch me. Hunter as well. They were working together. As soon as I got past Blake, I knew it was kind of, I needed to try to go, but it was tough. I needed to take this lunge and risk to get my way up the points because coming from Atlanta, I think, I was 20th.
And of course, the risky call actually puts you out front for a good amount of laps. I mean, how is that pressure-wise, having the oldest tires of the field? Because, of course, you can hold them off, but there's sort of a threshold that gets broken with drivers on fresh tires versus the old tire drivers that are still out on the track. So how was that pressure-wise for you, not only in that final restart, but even some of the restarts before where it looked like you had control of the race lead and you were just kind of looking in the rearview mirror, seeing where the other drivers were?
Yeah, it was tough. I was definitely wheeling it, and the only thing to save me was because I started from the back and I kind of learned my groove with the top groove and the bottom, and you don't want to go to the bottom, especially with the sun going down. All the grip was at the top. You go to the bottom, you're tight, and honestly, I had more right rear than my right front. They were pretty even, and yeah, it was definitely pressure when I decided to stay out. I honestly thought I got a penalty from cutting it a bit close, but I was just like, I used my right sides, and we only had 2 sets, so I used my right sides, and it was my last, and I'm like, this is it. I have to go for it.
Well, you went for it, and I think a respectable effort nonetheless. And you also had that chance out of turn 4 right to the inside. It brings us a fantastic finish. But, I mean, nonetheless, going into the rest of the season, you said first 2 races you were 20th in points. How is this going to help you momentum-wise? Although it's not the race win, the P2 finish, how is that going to help you momentum going into Phoenix, into Vegas, and, of course, the rest of the season throughout?
Due to the schedule being different from last season and due to us being Xfinity cars, these cars are very technical. And that's why I love off-throttle time. And with these intermediates, I'm definitely going to, go up through the points. And that's me. I'm probably going to get 1 win maybe, but I'm mostly a consistent driver. And I think this is going to really better me for going through the point standings, nicely. I just need to start from the back because when I qualify, I wreck out. But, oh yeah, it was fun. But GG's to Visconti. That was really fun.
It was a great race all around, and it was a lot of fun watching you up at the front of the field in all your might in that Ford Mustang. Gino, before we let you go on this race from the Kansas Speedway, who do you got to thank for making this all possible? Any teams, sponsors, or just anybody else that makes it happen for you?
I just want to thank probably my friends, Jarek, Nick, they kind of introduced me, and Jay as well, Jay Mulder. They all introduced me to WORC, and it's a really good league. It can have its faults, it can have its stupid times, but overall, it's a great league, great people, and I'm glad to be racing in it for this year and beyond. But yeah, great league.
Well, we definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here on the KBueno Racing Network. On behalf of all of us, want to congratulate you on this second place finish here tonight from Kansas, and of course, wishing you the best of luck moving forward to next week's Thursday race at the Phoenix Raceway.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Gino Mero, I'd say that is a good step in the right direction. 29th on the grid to P2 at the end of it all. A great run out of that 71 Ford Mustang and had the chance at the victory. We will talk to the driver who ends up 3rd out of this top 3 that came wrecking to the start-finish line. It's the 98 of Hunter Collier. We will bring him in on pit road. And Hunter, I mean, nobody can really give the perspective than the driver. We had the 3rd person, but you have the 1st person behind the wheel. Give us your thoughts on what you were going to try to do and, of course, how everything unfolded over that last green-white checkered restart.
Essentially, there wasn't really much to say. I just tried sending it at the end, and it didn't end up working out. I was lucky to get a podium in the end. My tires are shot, absolutely. But I managed to end up scoring the podium, even though I got hit at the end. Just sent it too hard.
Well, you grabbed the podium, and of course, it was a thriller between yourself, Christian Visconti, and the 71 of Gino Mero. But there was obviously a lot of context that went into this point, because up to that point, you started 17th, but you had worked your way up to the field. It looked like seamlessly, and by the latter portions of the race, even before the green-white checkered, you were up at the front, you were contending for the win, you were in that top 3, top 5 range. So how is that in order of position-wise to put yourself in that spot, to have a shot at the win like you did tonight, and of course, just running well overall at a track that usually can take a lot out of you, and it's really hard to pass on that inside lane?
Yeah, it was definitely hard trying to position yourself there towards the end. I thought I threw it away when I had to pit in from the lead due to lack of fuel. But in the end, it ended up working out, got my way back up, and it was just a shame I wasn't there to win it at the end. But you can't win them all, and I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I got the podium for the first time in a while.
Great podium finish for you. Going to carry a lot of points going into Phoenix. And Phoenix, I think that's going to be the outlier here coming in next week, because it'll be our first short track race of this season. There are shorter tracks, no doubt, with Irwindale and Volusia, but Phoenix being the first short track officially of this season, what is your mindset going into next week's race?
Phoenix isn't really a track I'm that good at, but I have done all right there in league, so I'm just going to go in there, try and score top 10, maybe get a podium if I'm lucky, and just move on to the points and focus on the playoffs.
Well, nonetheless, a lot of points on your way here tonight in this third place finish in the Kansas 120. Hunter, before we let you go, is there anybody you just want to thank for making this all possible? Team, sponsors, or just anybody else you just want to give the shout outs to in this race?
I'd like to thank Peak Racing. I'd like to thank Blues Diecast, and KBueno for supporting the team. I'd like to thank my teammates, Harrison Mitchell, Pierce Meffett. They did a really good job. And that's basically it.
Well, Hunter, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us here on this finish at the Kansas Speedway. I want to congratulate you on the third place and the podium result here tonight. And, of course, wishing you the best of luck as we head out west for Phoenix in the first short track race of the season.
All right, thank you, Kenneth.
That is Hunter Collier, third place finisher, the last driver to have a step on the podium. And he concludes our driver segment of the interview segment of tonight's post-race coverage. Unbelievable finish all the way to the end, and we thought it wouldn't get close based on what happened at Atlanta. We thought it was probably going to spread out over long green flag runs, but oh boy, were we wrong tonight, and it brought us a thriller all the way to the checkered flag in the final laps of this Kansas 120 that brings the 80 of Christian Visconti back to the victory lane for the second time this season. If you liked what you saw here tonight from the Kansas Speedway, well, we've got more WORC Dynamo Designs coverage to bring you over the course of 2022. Of course, this is our final race of the 2021 year on the broadcasting schedule, but we will be back on 2022, ready to kick things off on January 6th, as of course we will head out west to Avondale, Arizona, and the Phoenix Raceway. That'll be, of course, our first short track race of the season. If you want to catch that coverage, it'll be officially next Thursday. Of course, January 6th, you'll find the coverage to start at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, and you'll find it none other than right here on the KBueno Racing Network YouTube channel. So that wraps up our broadcast of the Kansas 120 here from the virtual Kansas Speedway. Want to congratulate Christian Visconti on his second race win of this season, and of course want to thank everybody for making all of this possible. For league owner Brayson Collins at the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series, for Dynamo Designs for sponsoring the entire campaign, for everybody that makes it possible, and on behalf of all of us at the KBueno Racing Network, for Francisco Bacalao and Charlie Beyer, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long, good night from America's Heartland. We'll see you next week in the Desert Valley at the Phoenix Raceway for 2022. Until then, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in the next year.